What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and y'all know what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about how we get this offense into an efficient offense that not only scores points but starts to play on the exact same level as the defense. Now, I'm not saying that all this can be done, but I'm saying that these little small changes can truly help this offense become a far better offense, and not only that, groom it to actually being for Taylor Heinicke. Now, I'm going to talk about some other things after this, but I'm going to talk about these first. So key number one to making this offense a better and more efficient offense: get Taylor involved in the game planning. Now, if y'all pay attention to Taylor when he first starts games, he starts games out like he's ready to hurry up and get through the first 15 plays, which is why I think they go out 3 and out during some of their plays, and why it's like later in like the second half or later in the game that all of a sudden we see that Taylor becomes more animated as the game goes on. I think that if Taylor is involved in the game planning, then Taylor will understand why Scott is going with those first 15 plays. And at the same time, Taylor can give Scott a bird's eye view, in fact, a quarterback's view on what's happening with the line, because I think that there's not a lot of conversation that happens there. I think that the person that's talking to Taylor the most is Ken Zampese. And for me, because he's not the offensive coordinator, that to me doesn't help a quarterback like Taylor Heinicke or Carson Wentz or anybody else. You know, because I strongly feel that at the end of the day, if the quarterbacks are in the game planning and then they understand why the offensive coordinator is calling certain plays or has schemed up certain plays or are even going with their first 15 plays, and then all of a sudden the quarterback tells the offense coordinator, hey, this is what's happening when we run this play. I'm getting pressure immediately up on this side or whatever. Then all of a sudden what happens is that then they can come up together with a game plan offensively that is far better than the game plan of just the offensive coordinator coming up, because he's watching film. So he may be watching film, but he's not really certain what Taylor is seeing. And he has to work with Taylor to understand that. So again, key number one, get Taylor involved in the game planning. Key number two, no more 7-step drops. The Cosme Lucas side, for some reason, seems to get a lot of pressure. And there are times also when there's pressure coming in on the Trey Turner side. I'm assuming Trey Turner may not be playing the next game, because I know he went out with an injury and Sadiq Charles came in. But, oh no, he came back. But we'll see what happens. But either way, 7-step drops have got to go, because it doesn't work for Taylor and it also doesn't work for the line. The line tends to get themselves caught up in something, and not only that, we're starting to see the ends close in on Taylor a whole lot faster than what we was expecting before. And because they're closing so quickly on Taylor, that 7-step drop is basically leading him directly into the line of fire of the defensive ends. So we have to not do that 7-step drop. And with that being one of my keys, that actually leads into my next key, which is shorten the wide receiver routes. I think a lot of us have seen this. A lot of us have talked about this. The long developing route does not work when it comes to how they are playing this game. Now, I can understand a long developing route when the run game has been murdering the team. I get that. But there are times where a long developing route just doesn't work. So you have to shorten the routes to help your quarterback to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands a whole lot faster. Prime example, for some of y'all who saw the 49ers back in their heydays, Joe Montana they had a lot of like short routes for Joe Montana to throw, and then after that the wide receivers just got the yards. We saw a lot of slants from that team. When we would see a deep ball, it was after a running play that was very effective. So again, we have to sit up there and shorten some of these routes just so the wide receiver can break the route a little bit earlier, so Taylor can anticipate some of his throws, so he's not throwing an interception or he's not trying his best to force a play that's not there. So yes, you do have to shorten some of these routes because some of these routes are just too long. It's taking too long for them to develop, and Taylor is just standing back there waiting for the wide receiver to come out the break, because if he throws it earlier, he feels it might be interception. If he throws it too late, he's not sure what's going to happen. So to help him anticipate a little bit better, you have to cut short some of these routes so that the wide receiver can get out the route as quickly as possible, and Taylor can get the ball on him in stride. Next is key number 4, and that's stay with the heavy run game. This heavy run game has been very good for us. Brian Robinson is starting to really come around, and we're really starting to see him started to pick up steam. Jonathan Williams, I done told y'all, I knew that they liked this guy. You can tell they like this guy, and he's great. Like I said, he hits the hole fast, he gets through it, and he comes with power. He does not care. And also Antonio Gibson. Now, I will say this. The last game, Antonio ran like he was scared, or ran like he was trying to make a play when he didn't need to make a play, which is why I think Jonathan Williams came in the game, because I think that the coaching staff was like, look, we don't need you to try to find something, hit the hole and go. So I think that's why we saw Jonathan Williams in this game. But we got to stay running game heavy, because again, this will help Taylor get to the point at where if you're shortening the routes and he's doing this heavy play action and things like that, he's going to be able to anticipate the wide receiver coming out the break and catch them in stride, versus him trying to pause and wait for the wide receiver to break into the route. So again, like I said, I think they need to stay running game heavy, because that's really going to help. Key number 5. Don't suggest Taylor throwing to anyone. I want to talk about 2 plays. And they're both interceptions by Taylor Heinicke. One was the interception against Philadelphia, where Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got over there, in which that particular play was a play where Taylor got greedy. Terry McLaurin was having a fantastic game. Taylor felt he was on his game. He couldn't do no wrong and things like that. And he got greedy on that particular play. Now, the Atlanta game, in which he throws the interception that is across the middle of the field. First, I'll say this. Michael Walker makes an amazingly athletic play, because understand this, Jahan Dotson is actually open on that play. Here's the problem with that. That was a play where Scott got greedy, and I'm going to tell you why. When y'all look at the film, because I'm pretty sure y'all going to look at the film, and you guys are going to criticize the fact that there were routes that were open, but you guys aren't going to pay attention to the fact of what Taylor was doing at the time that the routes came open. So I'm going to tell you all the routes that were open. One, the first thing that happens on the play is that his first route, or his first route, the first thing that he was supposed to look at, was blocked off. So what happened is Curtis Samuel comes out. The defensive end jams Curtis Samuel at the line. Well, not at the line. When he's coming into his route, he jams him. So then when that particular route is not there, Taylor immediately goes away from it. Now, as he's still backing up, he starts to wind his arm. Now, at that point, he's already made the decision to go deep. Now, what he didn't notice was that at the time, Brian Robinson and Curtis Samuel come across each other, and they're basically in the exact same spot at the exact same time. But then they eventually release and they become open. Now, also over towards the sideline, Logan Thomas becomes open as well. So during all of that, Taylor has already wound his arm up and is set to throw the ball to Jahan Dotson. Now, a lot of y'all are going to say, well, John, how do you know that they suggested that they suggested to Taylor to throw it to Jahan? The reason I know is because when the Curtis Samuel route is broken up, Taylor is already committed to throwing to Jahan Dotson. And he's committed to throwing to Jahan Dotson before he's come out the route. Because if you pay attention, you guys will see the all 22s. Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin basically run identical routes to each other, because somehow, some way, Terry McLaurin is breaking off into the route and Jahan Dotson is breaking off. The thing about it was that Jahan Dotson was in fact open. Now, Taylor is throwing to a shorter guy. So he's not trying to let the ball sail up on him, and he's trying his best to kind of get the ball up and over so it can land right in Jahan Dotson's hands. The problem was that Michael Walker was there and makes a fantastic play on the ball. So again, I understand that y'all gonna look at Taylor. Some of y'all gonna look at the all 22s and blame Taylor for not seeing these other routes. But I do feel that because he was already committed early on to throw to Jahan Dotson, I feel that that was a Scott Turner getting greedy thing, and that somebody had suggested to Taylor to throw to Jahan, because Jahan isn't getting a lot of plays with Taylor in the game. So again, I do feel that that was a Scott Turner greedy interception versus a Taylor Heineke greedy interception. Last but not least, the thing that's going to make this team turn around is let Taylor know it's okay to run. We've seen in 2 straight games where it seems like, well, not 2 straight games, because he kind of ran a play in the game prior to Atlanta, in the Houston game. But if you pay attention to how Taylor played in this last game, I don't know if they told him not to run, or if he was just not certain about running. Now, what I will say is this. A lot of teams are now starting to cocoon Taylor Heineke. Now, what does that mean? What's happening is that you're starting to see offensive lines, somehow what they're doing is finding a way to give Taylor no lanes to run through. And what's happening is because they're trying their best to cocoon him into the pocket, they're sitting there just waiting for him to throw so they can all just jump up in the air. If you pay attention, every team that he's faced has done this. They find a way. What they're doing is they're cocooning him. So what they're doing is leading all his blocking on the offensive line to be in this cocooned area. And then what's happened is that as soon as Taylor winds up the throw, they're immediately jumping in the air to block the football. So with that, you have to let Taylor know it's okay to run. If he sees a lane that's possibly opening up, get through the lane and go. Don't sit up there and try your best to wait or hope that somebody comes open and stuff like that, because it doesn't make you selfish if you run. And that's the thing that I think Taylor's fighting with, is that he feels that somehow, some way, he's becoming selfish if he sits there and runs and doesn't try to get the ball to the playmakers, which is a very good trait to have as a quarterback. But as a guy who's also a threat on the field, you should do everything you can to try to run. So those are my keys to making this offense a little better, and at the same time possibly getting it on a playoff trajectory itself, because as they implement these changes, the more and more development Taylor's going to go through, because he's going to realize that the offense is in fact molded to him and not a plug and play type of thing. So y'all, I mean, these are the things that I really do think that they should do, that's going to help this team propel to the playoffs and become better offensively. Not only that, it's also going to pick up the points. So those are my keys to how do you improve this offense. Now, here's something that I have to talk about. The Carson Wentz people. Carson Wentz had his chance to be the quarterback. Carson Wentz had his chance to show the NFL that what everybody thought about him was not a lie. He had his opportunity. A lot of y'all who feel that Carson Wentz makes the team better are fooling yourselves. And the reason why I'm saying that is not as a support for Taylor Heinicke, but it's more for the understanding that Carson Wentz had a chance to be that guy. And understand, with the chance to be that guy, he fumbled the ball. He didn't do what needed to be done. Understand this, he has a ton of sacks. Like, it's amazing at how everybody talks about Taylor Heinicke's failures when he was in that quarterback, but nobody ever talks about Carson's failures when he was at quarterback. Understand, we won the Jacksonville game, but we almost lost that game. Understand that Carson Wentz early in the Detroit game, the reason we lose is because we go down very early in the game. A lot of the sacks that the team had early on was because of Carson. So for all of you who want to support Carson Wentz, look, at this point right now, it's okay to say that they failed, that Carson Wentz failed here. But he's in the line of a lot of these quarterbacks that we go get and we sign and we think that they're going to change our team, and they never do. They never do. The closest one that came to it is Alex Smith. That's the closest one we've had. But none of these quarterbacks that we brought in have done anything. And understand this, it's not always the fact that, it's not just the fact that a guy is out there and he can throw the ball and sling the ball and things like that. If he's out there and he's holding on to the ball, or he's playing slow because he doesn't know the offense, then guess what? You're not sitting here making a case for it. I could see if we had possible Patrick Mahomes backing up Taylor Heinicke. That's not what we have. We have Carson Wentz who doesn't work. Who just doesn't work. And that's pretty much it. He's not going to get any better. We got 5 games to go. Carson Wentz is not going to get any better. And guess what? This offensive line is going to be bad again as soon as Carson Wentz get in the game. So for all of you who's sitting up here and y'all proclaiming, Carson Wentz will do better. I'm not saying bench Taylor Heinicke because they are winning, but eventually it's going to fail. What y'all think is going to happen when Carson Wentz get in? Y'all think that all of a sudden Terry's numbers are going to go back up, or are they going to go down? Yeah, and somebody said, oh, well, Jahan Dotson ain't getting the ball. He's been out for 3-something games. He just came back in a couple games, and they're slowly incorporating him back into the offense. It's not like he wasn't injured. He was injured for some time. So as they slowly reincorporate him back into the offense, I'm pretty sure his numbers will go up as well. It's not a battle of who's the better quarterback. The thing about it is that who gets us to the promised land. And there have been quarterbacks who've gotten their teams to the promised land and weren't that good. Trent Dilfer was one of them. How many of y'all remember what Trent Dilfer's numbers were when he sat up there and led Baltimore to the Super Bowl and won? How many of y'all remember what his numbers was? I'll tell y'all. He threw for under 2,000 yards that season, because I think he played in like 8 games or something like that. He threw for under 2,000 yards. And on top of that, he had 12 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. His quarterback rating was under 60%. That's what happened with Trent Dilfer. So understand this, there are quarterbacks that can do it, that can get a team to a Super Bowl and win. And also, the fact that Ron is acting so weird about this is amazing to me, because it's not like he in Chicago as a player and a coach, he's dealt with these type of quarterbacks. One guy won the Super Bowl, the other guy got to the Super Bowl, but they lost. And those guys are Jim McMahon and Rex Grossman. He's had quarterbacks like Taylor Heineke. Jim McMahon is the closest thing to Taylor Heineke. Jim McMahon was not a guy who was a great passer of the ball. He wasn't a guy who had this amazingly strong arm, but he did have a personality. He did have a bravado. That's what Jim McMahon had. But in the sense of being one of the best quarterbacks in the league, he was never that. And then you got Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman was the guy who was the gunslinging demon. But guess what Rex Grossman would do? Rex Grossman would give you a game where he throws 6 interceptions in a heartbeat. And yeah, act like he didn't even throw the 6 interceptions. What I'm saying is this, is that Ron needs to be better with being honest. He needs to be better when talking about Taylor. Because it's not like he's never dealt with these type of quarterbacks before. He's done it twice in Chicago, one as a player and one as a coach. He's dealt with quarterbacks like Taylor Heineke. And both of those guys led their teams to the Super Bowl. One won, the other one lost. So again, he knows what it's like to have a quarterback like Taylor around. Last but not least, I know this video's gone kind of long, because y'all know I normally don't do long videos. But anyway, last but not least, I'm going to talk about the Sean Taylor installation thing. My take on it is this. When a person loses somebody, they like them to be honored no matter what. The installation comes off more as a, you can buy this at the Commander's store, more than it comes off as a tribute, I would say. But I understand it. The reason why I understand it is because they need something temporary right now. We all understand that eventually what's going to happen is that a new stadium is going to be built. And they need to find a way to get that installation to somewhere else or do it over again. Now, I will say this about that particular installation. There's only 2 reasons you do an installation like that. Like I said, one is because it's temporary. It's something that is out there until they're able to come up with something a lot better. The other thing is because the person that's putting it together doesn't have the money for a statue. A statue would have been easy to do, would have been the right thing to do, would have been the appropriate thing to do. But the new stadium needs to have those type of things. I don't know how many of y'all have ever seen the Yankee Stadium and how they honor their former players, where they have, like, I think it's like a column and then a plaque on the column. That is the type of thing that should be done for Sean Taylor, where he gets a column and a plaque on the column. Because I think that if you see that type of thing, or if you do a statue, it's going to be at the new stadium. It's not going to be at the old stadium. And the reason why that is because they have to get all the things out like they need to. And at the same time, this installation, to be honest, I know people don't want to hear this, but it is temporary. That's exactly what it is. It's not an installation that's going to be there for the long haul. It's not something that's going to be there for a long term. I get it. They should have just waited until the new stadium was built and then unveiled a Sean Taylor tribute statue, plaque, whatever. It was the wrong thing to do. When everything is said and done, it was the wrong thing to do. His family is going to appreciate it because they love the fact that people are paying tribute over and over again to their lost one. And as a person who's lost somebody, I understand how that feeling can make you, can have you. But with that being said, sometimes the best thing to do is nothing until the appropriate thing to do is done correctly. For me, it was a little disappointing. It's a little sad because for a player of his magnitude to be idolized a little bit better would have been a better thing to do. A far better thing to do. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Do y'all think the offensive changes that I said can be implemented will be the best? Y'all tell me what y'all think. How did y'all feel about the Sean Taylor installation? How do y'all feel about the Carson Wentz situation and about the Carson Wentz versus Taylor Heineke thing? Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.